Hi guys, it's Leah and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be reviewing the Pet Sematary that just premiered last night. For those of you who don't know, this is going to be the remake of the original film Pet Sematary that released in 1989, which was an adaptation of Stephen King's infamous novel, of course, 1983. Before we get started, if you guys haven't already, make sure you subscribe down to my channel below for more videos. And also make sure you guys go check out my review that I posted for Shazam if you're interested. Now, let's get into Pet Sematary, shall we? I do want to say right off the bat that I did enjoy Pet Sematary. Of course, when you're doing a remake of an earlier film, of an adaptation of a book, that's a mouthful, you are going to run into a lot of creative changes and direction, which is expected. But I do want to start off with a lot of things that I really enjoyed, and then I do want to say one thing that was a little strange creative direction-wise of what they decided to do. So Pet Sematary follows the Creed family. The Creed family moves to Maine, where a series of unfortunate events begins to unfold. Lewis teams up with his neighbor Judd and actually make the first mistake that leads to the downfall of not only Judd, but the entire Creed family. I definitely think that this film had some really good elements to it. It was not extremely gory, but it definitely amped up the horror, the gore, and the special effects, which is to be expected when you are making something in 2019 versus its 1980s counterpart. I really do like how this explored the inner workings of each family member's own peril and their own lies and things that they were keeping from each other, essentially. Also, this film was roughly around 80 minutes, I believe, so they didn't have a lot of time for exposition, which I do think that they managed to navigate through the film pretty well. Although there wasn't any underlying tension in the family, they just kind of told us, like, all right, they moved here, you know, everything's good and this is why, which was at first a little difficult, and you could tell. The first third of the film took a little bit to get into, but after that they just really started sailing from there. I really did enjoy how they started the film, of course, and there's a lot of beautiful cinematography, a lot of the rural shots and landscapes, and then even creative choices of how they did the framing for the film. I did like the added touches where, I don't know why, but it seems in a lot of films lately there are doors that are portals to other sides or other places, which is actually kind of funny, probably because I had just seen this in Shazam the night before. But I do like that creative vision and idea. I also like the use of props, scenery, and setting. I think that was done extremely well in this film, especially the fog, the way that it actually moved across the screen, all added to the overall tone. I dislike the dialogue that was chosen in the beginning of the film, where they were explaining to the audience the ritual or the procession that was taking place in their backyard. It was kind of clunky. It was a little bit like, oh, that's just a procession. Like, that kind of stuck out to me early on in the film as something that could have been worded a little better or explained better. The cast in this film actually did phenomenal, especially towards the end of the film. I think that Clarke did a spectacular job. I cannot stress enough, especially in the latter part of the film. He really gets into his character. You really start to, as an audience, feel for him and how you would do anything for your children. But it also just showed us how unleashed he was and unhinged that he was. And the acting, it was just, it really was something to be watched. Same thing goes for the actress that played Rachel. Anytime that she had a moment on the screen to herself, her acting really brought it to another level emotionally. So that was definitely an aspect of the film I really enjoyed. I think that one of the most riveting aspects of this film, and one of the best things to really pay attention to when it comes around, is the big death act. I don't think it could have been directed any better than it was. It was really gripping. It really showed what it took to set this family off, especially for Lewis Creed, the father. That was the defining moment, if you will. I think it was really well done. Speaking about the death scene of the little girl, that brings us to something that was interesting that was obviously changed from the original film. In the original film, it is the little boy that is killed initially by the truck. I do think it's kind of interesting that they changed it to the daughter, and also they added in there that the daughter was aware of, you know, what she was doing, which, although added a more sinister effect, it was a little different, because when a child or a small baby marks that, you know, loss of virtue and the loss of innocence, especially if we're speaking about, you know, what Jed was telling us about guilt and about death, and, you know, this film is very focused on the afterlife, what is the meaning of life and death and guilt, and how we process that as human beings. So I definitely think it was a little bit of an interesting choice to make not only the girl is the one that is killed by the truck, but also to make her self-aware as to what she is doing, asking why she is there. So that was a bit of an interesting choice. I think that they did make it work. They made it connect. I did enjoy especially the special effects and the, you know, the makeup and the visual effects for some of the scenes, especially for, I think, you know, Rachel's sister. That must have taken a long time to do, and there was a really big payoff. So anyway, let me know in the comments down below what you guys thought of Pet Sematary. I do think you guys should go give it a watch. It was a well-made film. It was suspenseful. It definitely got my heart racing. I do like, you know, it starts off almost pretty much the same as the original. As with any remake of an original or even an adaptation from a book, if we are looking at Stephen King's Pet Sematary as the layout for all of this, which of course it is, but as we all know, if we have read the book, Pet Sematary is pretty dull, to say the least. So I am going to stop blabbing on. There is nothing like the original, as is in most cases for horror films. But I do think that this does Pet Sematary justice. When we are remaking horror films, sometimes they just don't do it. And so much of the original, why the original is so great, is often lost in translation. I don't think that they lost too much of that in this remake. So let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. As usual, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys!